I'm Gloria Allred, and you're watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Gloria, and I'm Randy Hansen in World News Headlines today. Appeals Court upholds telecom immunity law. OK spying suit. And U.S. prosecutors prepare criminal charges against BP employees. And judge says SEC misleading, obstructing and Citibank settlement ruling. And Romney heads into primaries with slim Iowa lead. And Bachmann, Iowa chair joins Paul's campaign. And energy industry rewarded Gingrich after shift on climate change. And Egyptian forces raid human rights groups in Cairo. And Syrian forces reportedly killed 25 protesters. North Korea vows no change in direction under Jong-un. And Russia claims containment of fire on nuclear sub. And activists criticize sentences of Argentine junta leaders. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's first world news story, Federal Appeals Court has upheld 2008 law granting immunity to telecom companies that aided the Bush administration's warrantless domestic spy program. Groups including the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the American Civil Liberties Union had filed an appeal consolidating 33 different cases against the companies, including AT&T, Sprint, Nextel, Verizon, Bell South, and after a lower court ruled that the firms are protected by Congress-mandated retroactive immunity. But on Thursday, the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the dismissal of the telecom suits, ruling the retroactive immunity law is constitutional. The ruling could mark the end of legal attempts to hold the telecom firms accountable for spying in court. But in a victory for civil liberties advocates, the court revived a separate legal attempt to sue the government for the warrantless domestic spying program. Lower court had dismissed the case after the government successfully argued it would jeopardize so-called state secrets. Electronic Frontier Foundation, which brought the case, hailed the ruling, saying the American people may finally get a judicial ruling on whether the massive spying done on them since 9/11 is legal or not. The Wall Street Journal is reporting U.S. prosecutors are preparing to bring criminal charges against employees of the oil giant BP for the last year's oil spill in the waters off the Gulf Coast. Charges would mark the first against BP over the disaster. And a federal judge has accused the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, of misleading an appeals court and withholding important information. On Thursday, U.S. District Court Judge Judd Rakoff of New York said the SEC had misled a federal appeals court in seeking to overturn his recent decision rejecting a proposal of a $285 million settlement between Citigroup and Securities and Exchange Commission over Citigroup's sales of toxic mortgage debt. In a major decision last month, Rakoff had said the proposed settlement was neither responsible nor fair nor adequate nor in public interest and pocket change to any entity as large as Citigroup. The SEC had accused Citigroup of selling $1 billion of deceptive mortgage-backed securities in 2007, just as the nation's housing bubble was about to burst. Citigroup made $160 million in profits on the transaction, while investors lost $700 million. Republican candidates are entering their final weekend of campaigning before Tuesday's Iowa caucuses selects the first winner of the primary season. Former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney is holding a slim lead in the polls. On Thursday, Romney continued his attacks on President Obama. And he said, "The president says he wants to fundamentally transform America. I don't want to transform America into something else. I want to restore the principles that our founders, our patriots, that they recognized. I don't want to become Europe. Europe isn't working in Europe. I don't want Europe to be here." Texas Representative Ron Paul is running second behind Romney in Iowa, despite a recent controversy over the bigoted comments published in a newsletter bearing his name 2 decades ago. On Thursday, Paul continued on his campaign theme of criticizing the bailouts of the Wall Street firms. He said their special interests have benefited the Wall Streeters get bailed out and the debt is being dumped on the people. And that has to be reversed, let me tell you. Paul's campaign received a boost this week after Iowa Chair of Representative Michelle Bachmann's campaign joined his team. On Thursday, Bachmann told reporters the defection was due to financial reasons, a claim Paul denies. Michelle Bachmann said he had told me specifically he was offered money, a great deal of money, from the Ron Paul campaign, and that's why he was leaving. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich is already looking beyond Iowa's amidst sinking poll numbers. Gingrich says he expects wide support in the upcoming primaries after Iowa, including South Carolina. He said it very much depends on what happens. It depends on what the margins are, but yeah, they are more than 3 tickets. And considering that I'm 20 points ahead in some of the states, it would be fairly foolish for me not to stay in the race. It's a long run from here to picking a nominee. Gingrich faces new questions over his post-congressional lobbying career. This week, following the disclosure, he received a surge in donations from major U.S. energy companies after changing his stance on the climate change. 1 month after joining House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in a 2008 ad for the Global Warming Awareness Campaign backed by former Vice President Al Gore, Gingrich began calling for increased gas drilling and rejection of cap-and-trade legislation for carbon pollution. According to the Washington Post, Gingrich's group, American Solutions for Winning the Future, immediately received a flood of energy industry donations, eventually topping $2 million. Egyptian forces raided the offices of a number of human rights and civil society groups in Cairo on Thursday amidst growing criticism of the ruling military regime. The group included the U.S.-funded National Democratic Institute and the International Republican Institute. Staffers reported being locked inside their offices and having their belongings seized, including books and laptops. The Egyptian military says it targeted 17 Egyptian and international groups as part of a probe into the foreign funding. In Washington's State Department spokesperson Victoria Nuland criticized the raid, saying it would jeopardize U.S. foreign assistance. Said the United States is deeply concerned that Egyptian judicial and police officials raided the offices of a number of non-governmental organizations, including the National Democratic Institute and the International Republican Institute. This action is inconsistent with the bilateral cooperation we have had over many years. We do have a number of new reporting and transparency requirements on funding to Egypt that we have to make to the Congress. The Egyptian government is well aware of that, and it certainly needs to be aware that in the context of how quickly this issue gets resolved. Syrian forces have fired on protesters in the Assad regime's ongoing crackdown on opposition activists. Witnesses say at least 25 people were killed in Syrian forces on Thursday. North Korea has issued defiant calls rejecting a change in direction under new leader Kim Jong-un in its first official communication directed at the outside world following the death of Kim Jong-il. The North Korean government addressed whom it called foolish politicians around the world and puppet forces in South Korea. North Korean state television newsreader said, "On this occasion we solemnly declare with confidence that foolish politicians around the world, including the puppet forces in South Korea, should not expect any changes from us. The sea of bloody tears by our people and military will chase the rebellious factions until the end, to become the sea of revenge, burning the rebellious faction until nothing is left. The sound of mourning will become the roaring of sound of gunfire to collapse the puppet stronghold." Unquote. Russia says it has contained a huge fire and engulfed a nuclear submarine ongoing repairs after hours of dousing flames with water from helicopters and tugboats. Russian firefighters partially submerged the vessel at a naval shipyard. Russian officials say there was no radiation leak because the reactors had been shut down before repairs began. A number of former Argentine military leaders from the 7-year dictatorship ending in 1983 have been sentenced for the killing and torture of activists during their regime. The defendants, including Argentina's last dictator, Ronaldo Benignon, was sentenced to 15 years after being sentenced to 25 years in a separate case last year. Former head of the Air Force, Hipólito Mariani, was sentenced to 8 months house arrest, prompting an outcry from activists and relatives of the victims. A member of the Grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo criticized the sentences as too lenient and said, "We can't tolerate these sentences. They are laughable in the crimes they have committed. What more proof do they need? Do they want the victims who were tortured and killed to come up from the bottom of the ocean to rise from the earth and testify against crimes that were committed? What more proof has to be given?" And that's it today for our world news. Another thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News.
Something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware.
That's right, it's time for the police blotter, and pictures in the blotter not from these actual events but used for visual aid only. Grass Valley Police Department on Thursday, 9 a.m. A caller from 700 block of Taylorville Road reported the theft of gas from an unlocked vehicle. At 9:13 a.m. a woman from 200 block of Mill Street reported her tire had been slashed. And 2:30 p.m. a caller from 10,000 block of Pampas Drive reported theft of a safe. And 4:24 p.m. a caller from 2000 block of Nevada City Highway reported the theft of a purse from a shopping cart. 10:58 p.m. a caller from 100 block of West McKnight Way reported a man lying on the ground with 2 men standing over him. When the caller drove by, the man jumped up and tried to wave the caller over, saying they needed jumper cables. The men were located and they said they were having car trouble and were trying to flag someone down by lying on the ground. And Friday, 4:18 a.m. a caller from 300 block of Sutton Way reported hearing a gunshot. And Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Thursday. 8:45 a.m. a caller from 13,000 block of Buttermilk Bend Road reported the theft of mail. And 12:02 p.m. a man from Black Road reported a boy sleeping on his property with marijuana bags near him. He could not be located. 1:44 p.m. a woman from 13,000 block of Red Dog Road reported a woman missing since November 22nd. The woman took her vehicle when she left, and she wanted to report it was stolen. She said she received a text from the missing woman on Monday saying she needed money and was having an emergency. A be on the lookout advisory was issued. At 2:34 p.m. a man from 18,000 block of Forest Drive reported a person cashed a check that had been written to a different party. At 3:11 p.m. a caller from 14,000 block of Narrow Gauge Drive reported vandalism to a tree. At 3:25 p.m. a caller from Harder Place requested extra patrols due to recent thefts in the area. At 3:38 p.m. a woman from Lime Kiln Road reported a burning bottom. She was advised to call her physician. At 3:55 p.m. a caller from 15,000 block of Magnolia Road reported a theft. And 5:03 p.m., a man from the 18,000 block of Fair Oaks Drive reported people were harassing and threatening him and they had tried to damage his car tires. At 5:49 p.m., a caller from 14,000 block of Powerline Road reported lights inside a vacant house where the power had been turned off. 9:04 p.m., a caller from 19,000 block of McCourtney Road reported hearing a woman screaming. She could not be located. At 9:54 p.m., a man from 15,000 block of Harmony Estates Road reported a woman scratched him. She reported he had punched her in the face. It was found to be mutual combat. And Friday, 1:21 a.m., a caller from Carrie Ann Lane reported loud music and a woman asking a man if she could borrow a gun. No weapon was found. And 3:29 a.m., a man from Silk Tassel Circle reported putting out a fire in a newspaper tube. At 5:36 a.m., a woman from 10,000 block of Newtown Road reported a man just tacked her to the ground. He was arrested on suspicion of spousal abuse. Nevada City Police Department on Thursday. 3:42 p.m., a caller from 700 block of Lindley Avenue reported a fight that possibly was physical. And at 4:14 p.m., a caller from that address reported possible dependent adult abuse. And that's it for the blotter today. Now another thanks to one of our underwriters. And thank you, Sam, for watching. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Soundcheck Music Center, the Rock and Roll Connection. We have guitars, amps, drum equipment, sound accessories, lessons, and repairs. We are located at 671 Maltman Drive, Grass Valley. 530-272-7236, open 7 days a week.
In today's local news headlines, 2 arrested in alleged extortion attempt. And GV man arrested in fatal incline crash suspected of DUI. And GV man allegedly resists arrest, cries, seizure. And gas thefts plague community. In a story written by Liz Keller of the Union, 2 Cedar Ridge men were arrested Saturday morning after they showed up at a Grass Valley bank expecting their alleged victim to hand them $2,000. The victim, a man who was not identified by law enforcement, called Nevada County Sheriff's deputies Friday night to report the extortion attempt. The 2 alleged members of the E. Vitus Clampus group threatened him, said Sheriff Deputy Rhea Grotke. Grotke declined to provide further details of the alleged threat or the victim's relationship to the suspects. Patrol officers as well as members of the Sheriff's Major Crimes Unit Narcotics Task Force set up a sting at a bank 1700 block of Sutton Way. Cameron Gatewood Robertson, 42, and Clifford Cousins, 50, were arrested at about 9:15 a.m. at the bank's ATM machine without incident. They admitted they were there to meet the victim to get the money, she said. Deputies later interviewed a woman identified as Robertson's girlfriend, Renee Bartlett, 39. Bartlett was not taken into custody, but Grotke said charges were expected to be filed against her. Robertson and Cousin both were arrested on suspicion of criminal conspiracy and extortion and were being held in lieu of a $10,000 bail. In a story written by Kevin McMillan out of Incline Village in Nevada, 2 Incline Village residents were killed Friday after being struck by a truck driven by a Grass Valley man suspected of being under the influence of drugs, according to Nevada Highway Patrol. Christopher Torrey Smith, 25, from Grass Valley, was driving a black 2006 Chevrolet pickup southbound on Highway 28 through Incline Village shortly after 8 p.m. Friday when he allegedly struck the 2 pedestrians crossing from east side in what was described to the NHP press release Saturday morning as a horrific crash. Witness statements and evidence of the scene indicated the pedestrians, a male and a female, were or close to a painted crosswalk when they were struck, according to published reports. They were a married couple, NHP officials said in Saturday morning's interview. The male pedestrian was pronounced dead at the scene. The female died from her injuries en route to the Reno Regional Medical Center in Reno. Smith, who had 3 passengers in the truck, was booked into Washoe County Jail on suspicion of 2 counts of driving under the influence causing death and failure to yield to pedestrians. His bail was set at $60,200. Identities of the pedestrians are being withheld until next of kin is notified. Both directions of Highway 28 were closed for nearly 4 hours before reopening about 11:40 p.m. The NHP trooper Mike Stapleton of the major accident investigation team is the lead investigator. Witnesses or anyone with information can contact him at 775-689-4623 regarding case number NHP 111230851. In another story written by Liz Keller, a Grass Valley man allegedly resisted arrest by narcotics officers and then claimed he had having seizures just 5 months after trying to evade arrest by wearing a wig. Members of the Nevada County Sheriff's Narcotics Task Force spotted 20-year-old Jason Edward Rose in a vehicle in a parking lot in a fast food restaurant in Nevada City Highway at about 3 p.m. Thursday, said Sheriff Keith Royal. They knew he had a felony warrant, Royal said. Rose would not admit his identity, telling deputies his name was Jesse and trying to hide something in his hands. When the deputy tried to pull Rose from the vehicle, he allegedly tossed something to his male passenger. Rose then refused to comply with the efforts to cuff him, but eventually was taken to the ground. He claimed to have been having a seizure, Rose said. Deputies retrieved the item Rose had tossed to his passenger and discovered a number of Dilaudid synthetic morphine pills. Rose was arrested on suspicion of possession of controlled substance, providing a false identity, and violating probation. He was being held in a county jail without bail. Rose last made the pages of the Union when he was arrested by a Grass Valley police officer in late July after being spotted in his mother's vehicle wearing a long-haired wig in an apparent attempt to evade detection. He was arrested in that instance on suspicion of burglary. And our last story today, written by Liz Keller, other Union suspected gas thieves hit two Grass Valley businesses Wednesday night, in one instance destroying a vehicle's gas line by cutting it. Gas thefts have been a recurring problem throughout the county, with more than a dozen reported between January and June of this year. Most victims report gas had been siphoned out of the tank, but stealing gas by cutting the line is a more uncommon crime. Grass Valley School District's Child Nutrition Service called the Grass Valley Police Department Thursday to report the gas lines had been cut on a vehicle, but no gas had been stolen. They tried to cut one metal line and pulled another line out, said Officer John Herrera, adding this was the second such incident there in 6 months. A number of gas thefts have been reported on Golden Gate Terrace, possible due to the dead-end street's relative isolation. A distribution van at the Union also was targeted, said an employee who would arrive at work in the morning to discover the gas cap hanging open, a large folding razor lying on the ground. It was unclear whether any gas had been stolen from the vehicle. And that's it for our world news today. Now another thanks to one of our, thanks to the Union, Amy Goodman, Reuters, Associated Press, and others for the sourcing of our news. You can watch this broadcast of Comcast Cable, NCTV, Channel 11 in Nevada County, 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 7:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. Suddenlink, Channel 16, Truckee and Alta Sierra. We also are streamed on the internet at NCTV's Digital Media Center website, NevadaCountyTV.org and GVTV.org. And don't forget Grass Valley Television that plays 24/7 at GrassValleyTelevision.com. And we post to Facebook, YouTube, Blip.tv, and many other sites with RSS feed and video podcast on iTunes. Just search under video podcast for GVTV News. Content is controlled by the producer of this newscast. Grass Valley Television is not necessarily the opinion of the NCTV Digital Media Center. Grass Valley Television also videotapes local events around Nevada County, and if you have a need for video, you can contact us for more info. GrassValleyTelevision@gmail.com or 362-8889, that's 530 area code. This show is produced by Grass Valley Television, Rural County Television Network. County Sheriff's Office Most Wanted, December 7th, 2011. These people have warrants for their arrest. If you see any of these subjects on the street or have any information regarding their whereabouts, please contact the Sheriff's Department or local law enforcement. Every effort is made to keep this information as current as possible. However, the information provided should be verified before taking any action. Shown below, each picture is type of crime and last known city of residence. Please confirm warrant with Nevada County Sheriff's Warrant Division 530-265-1474. First up is Jason Angus McNutt, age 36, out of Truckee. Violation, probation, felony, no bail. Next up, David Humberto Gonzalez, age 29, out of Grass Valley. Lewd and lascivious act, felony, $50,000. Aaron James Stock, age 31, Grass Valley. Possessed controlled substance, felony, $30,000 bail. Daniel Robert Dwyer, age 44, Penn Valley. Spousal abuse, felony, $25,000 bail. Molly Ruth Algier, age 23, Nevada City. Numerous drug offenses, accessory to felony, $10,000 bail. Brendan Barker, age 31, whereabouts unknown, numerous drug offenses, felony, $70,000 bail. And Justin Owen Baer, age 35, Grass Valley, numerous drug offenses, felony, $42,500 bail. And Mark Ray Johnson, age 45, Grass Valley, numerous drug offenses, felony, no bail. Michael Carl Peterson, age 28, Portland, Indiana, stolen vehicle, felony, $10,000 bail. Jennifer Lynn Gray, aka Steele or Ross or Cooper, age 37, rough and ready, drugs, felony, no bail. Robert Dean Hicks, age 60, Sacramento, grand theft, felony, bail, $50,000. And James Doler Carroll, age 32, Nevada, attempted stolen vehicle, violation, probation, felony, no bail. Nevada County Sheriff's Office updated most wanted. This is 12/7/2011. These people have warrants for their arrest. If you see any of these people on the street or have information regarding their whereabouts, you can contact the Sheriff's Department. Every effort is made to keep this information current. And be careful. Some of these people could be dangerous. Please confirm your warrant with the Nevada County Sheriff's Warrants Unit at 530-265-1474. Do not attempt to apprehend these suspects. Instead, contact a local law enforcement agency or Nevada County Sheriff's Office, 530-265-1474. Next up is Sergio Espiti. Christopher's Old World Deli and Catering Company has brought its delicious food and service downtown Grass Valley. You like desserts? They got them. You like international style lunches? They got them. Christopher's Deli and Catering for parties, get-togethers, weddings, or whatever. Open 7